Uh,
There
There
we
we are.
are. That
Hello,
was cute.
everyone. Even though Facebook's having some issues today, we're still jumping on in a couple of 50 plus and fabulous groups or 50 plus alive redesigned. So, welcome everyone. We're also streaming live to LinkedIn. So, any
Mhm.
professionals out there or other wonderful professionals who like to jump in and learn about what to do when you're over 50 and you're planning for your retirement, welcome. I'm Barb Provo, founder of Purse Strings. We created Purse Strings so that women had a one stop shop, if you will, for resources and fabulous financial professionals like Donna Kline that will help them not only learn what they need to know to make good financial decisions, but be in their corner when they need some help or support, depending on any financial decision or investment that they may have. So we have a whole cadre of financial professionals ready, willing, and able to help our lovely women who come through Purse Strings. Purse Strings is free for women. We're free resources. And so we have realtors, lenders, financial advisors, PNC agents, attorneys, anybody that's going to help you through any kind of financial investment or transaction that you need to make over your lifetime. We have you covered. So we're glad that Donna Klein's here with us today. She's going to guide us through some great to dos. Maggie, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, that sounds great. Donna, we're so excited to have you today. I guess since we're not on everything, I guess we could just jump in and get started.
I
Might as
know
well.
technology. That's
Technology
okay.
problems, but we'll just
Yeah.
save some time and get right to it. Let's get started. So Donna Kline is a financial advisor, certified divorce coach, and certified divorce financial analyst with a history of working closely with clients to address their financial situations, aspirations, and goals. When family is facing a divorce, some goals may change, but the need for planning does not. Her team provides comprehensive financial planning services. She's committed to multi generational wealth and estate planning to help her clients and their families achieve goals. A divorced family is still a family. It might just look a little different. So her company, HBKS, also offers a range of solutions to help business owners meet their financial goals and responsibilities. So Donna, we're so great. We're so glad that you're here today. I'll give you the floor, post up some slides, and if anyone on, feel free to post in any questions that you have throughout.
Yeah,
Let's do
please
it.
do. Yeah, absolutely. So the subject matter today is we're addressing women over 50, the types of financial assessments you need to make at certain milestones in your life. This one in particular is at age 50. And the idea is, the premise is, in fact, I hope, there we are. So there we are, planning for life after 50, the dreaded 50. Well, there's a long life after 50, which we will talk more about. We're living longer and longer. So we need to do a little bit more planning when we hit this milestone. And the types of planning that we do, I mean, the ones that come to mind a lot for women is not is the their health assessment. That's sort of what we start to think about when you turn 50. How is your health, right? How about your hormone level? How are you doing, emotionally? Are you taking enough supplements? Because we start to worry about osteoporosis and all these other things. New medical tests we have to take when we turn 50. Um, and if you haven't been real serious about your health, a lot of times people say, well, now's the time. I'm 50, I better get serious about this. Well, it's no different than your financial health, right? It's equally important to take care of your financial health, and particularly at this stage in your life. Another thing people look into is, if they find themselves sort of empty nesters. A lot of folks that when they cross 50, if they're married, right, they're finding themselves with their children grown and leaving the house. So how is your relationship doing? That's another question, right? What's your vision for your retirement for both of you? Are they on the same page? Meaning that does one spouse want to retire on a beach and another spouse wants to get a Winnebago and travel around and see the state parks. So there's a lot of things that need to be talked about at this sort of junction in your life. So what we're going to focus on here really is just the financial picture, and we're going to talk about it as intact families, spouses, and parents of adult children, and also if you have faced a divorce later in life. So let's talk about the financial picture first off. When you are 50, are you still working, right? Are you earning income? Are you the stay-at-home spouse? Are you both working, right? Is there enough income coming in to continue to support your lifestyle? And if you've been raising children or not, have you been saving enough for your retirement? And one thing I try to talk to people is that how do you assess really if you've saved enough money for quote retirement or working by choice, different words for it, not working as much, things like that, maybe not bringing in the income. How do you really know? Some people look at retirement as, well, I need to have X amount of dollars in my account. And by then I think I'd be comfortable enough to retire, right? But there's just so much more to it than that. There's certain math that's involved to make a real legitimate assessment as if you are, quote, ready to retire, right? There's market returns that vary. There are inflation considerations to think about as prices rise, perhaps, if you stop earning income. There are surprises that can happen. We're going to talk about a few of those, but there's, good surprises like weddings and grandchildren. And then there's bad surprises like a divorce or accidents or healthcare issues. So all of those possibilities need to be wrapped into a financial plan. So it's not really accurate to say, well, if I have a portfolio that I put X amount of money in and it grows at 7% year after year, by this day, I will have, $1 million saved. Well, markets don't go up the same percentage every single year. So when you're really looking at a financial plan, and most financial advisors, right, if you're paying them a fee, they should be doing this for you, which is let's get a statistical idea of the likelihood that we're successful later in life, given all sorts of outcomes that could come our way. We want to account for those, right? We want to make sure that we are accounting for bull markets, bear markets, inflation, and nasty surprises. And we want to make sure that we are prepared for them and protected from them. So let's talk a little bit about the savings rate over the last 20 years. I thought there was a little chart before that, but there might be, unless you didn't get that chart. But nonetheless, there is no chart there. You didn't get one. Okay. So apologies. Let me just talk to you about what we expect to. Sorry about that, everybody. We're a little out of order with the slides. That's my fault. But nonetheless, we recommend you save at least 10 to 15% of your income. Now, why do I use income? Why is it a percentage of income? And that's really because people that are earning, say, $100,000 a year, or if they're living within their means, they're spending a certain amount every year. If you're making $1 million a year, you hopefully are living within your means, and you're spending probably a little bit more for your basic expenditures, your home, etc. The idea being that when you are retiring, most people continue to spend the money that they were spending, or at least 70% of the money that they were spending while they were working. So it's a relative sort of thing. I hope that makes sense. So if you're making $100,000 a year and you're putting at least $10,000 to $15,000 away, hopefully that will mean that you have enough saved up to continue the lifestyle, or at least a large percentage of that lifestyle later in life. Another way to look at it is if you're turning 50, you should have at least 4 to 5 times of your salary saved. So hopefully we have a chart for that too. So if you're earning $100,000 a year, you should have about 4 to 5 times your annual income saved by the age of 50. Okay, or $450,000, right, at age of 50, and that's net of any liabilities. And that's because that is using that idea is that if you continue to save at that rate, you should have enough to live off of in retirement without running out of money before you die. So the earlier you start saving, the better. It's due to something called compound interest, and this is the correct chart. So it's a little bit old. It's a short chart from 2014, but the concept is still the same. Each person in this example, if you can see it, is saving about $5,000 a year. But the real difference is when they start saving and how long they save for. Of course, the person who starts the earliest at age of 25 and saves the longest till age 65 is going to have more money. But it's not going to be just it's not going to be a straight line. It's going to be, because of the effects of compounding, they're going to have much more money saved than if they started later in life or if they didn't save for as long. So that doesn't mean much if you're already 50 and you haven't met these milestones, but there's still time. Luckily, even though the savings rate's been relatively low, in the grand scheme of things, according to the Bureau of Economic Statistics, the if you're age 50 and you have the opportunity to do what's called catch-up provision. So the government says, well, folks aren't really saving enough. We can see that because we run statistics on what percentage of income people are saving. So after you reach the age of 50, you do have an opportunity to put more money away. For example, if you got a 401k, right, your maximum contribution, personal contribution to a 401k right now is $19,500. But if you're over 50, you can put an additional $6,000 in there, right? You could save up to $26,000. Other savings plans, like a regular IRA, normally that's capped at $6,000 a year. But if you're over 50, you can put $7,000 a year away. So if you're turning 50 and you're realizing, hey, wait, you haven't hit certain milestones, just some of the examples we were talking about, you weren't saving enough, you do have the opportunity to increase your savings in these tax-deferred vehicles. And that's something that's very, very important to take care of. And why? Why? Because I mentioned before, when you're retired, you're going to need to have each year at least or up to 70% of what you are earning needs to be coming in. And I totally take responsibility for this slide issue here. I think I forgot to send you a newer one, but that's okay. I'll keep going. So there we go. That's what we were just talking about, catch-up provision. So you see the IRA from $6,000 to $7,000, 401k savings from $19,000 to $26,000. So if you're 50 or older and you have the opportunity to save in these vehicles, definitely do more to max them out if you can. It'll make a lot of difference in terms of the money you have when it's time to leave your company. As I mentioned, you need at least 70% of your retiring income. And the idea here too is, and the reason we want to make sure that folks are saving more is because if you look at this example in front of you, I mentioned 70% is roughly the amount of the annual pre-retirement income you're going to be needing to maintain. And Social Security, even though you've been paying into your whole life, is only expected to make up about 33% of your living expenses. And if you think about it, Social Security was started back in the 1930s, right? Sort of towards the end of the Depression, 1935. And at that time, people were only living to the ages of 65 or so, right? Now we're living much, much longer. And so Social Security doesn't really fill the gaps. We have to make up for the gaps with our own personal savings. And we don't have pension plans like we used to, too. It used to be very common to have a pension plan through work, and those are also going by the wayside. So you have to make up these differences with your own personal savings. How long does the money need to last? Well, unlike 1935, when we were expected to live to 65, nowadays, if you're 50 years old this year, you can be expected to live another more than 35 years. Right? We're expecting 85 or higher. When we do our financial planning, we actually project folks living to a minimum of 95. Everybody's living longer and longer. Men don't live as long as women. It's just been the facts. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But if you plan to retire, at the very minimum, you should expect your money to last at least 20 years. All right, so you have to do some planning to make sure that given any possible market scenario or surprises in your life, that you're protected and covered to have that money last for 20 years. And unfortunately, when we hit 50, there's a lot of other challenges that come up in our life. For example, divorce, right? I happen to work a lot in divorce, and it's very apparent, and there have been plenty of studies done that couples more and more, the divorce rate for couples over the age of 50, in some cases married for 40 years, are facing divorce, right? And no one expects divorce. No one thinks ahead and plans for divorce. But I will talk about things you could do as a family now that can make divorce and or some unfortunate incident from having a more devastating effect on you. Because men, even as we age, they don't live as long. But as we cross 50, the likelihood that you will outsurvive your spouse gets greater and greater and greater once you cross the age of 50. So how do you prepare? Well, one thing is we talked about making sure you have enough saved, right? So if you haven't had enough saved, make sure you're starting to increase and take advantage of those jump ups and saving ability. If you're a couple, Have you, if you're the woman, which I'm sure you are, but if in relationships, a lot of times in a traditional sort of relationship or not, a lot of women have deferred the financial aspect of the marriage to the husband. I don't want to be too, I work, of course, and I know a lot of people here do work, but it's oftentimes in a marriage, people take on certain roles. But it's extremely important throughout the entire marriage that both parties are very aware of what's going on financially for the family. A lot of times women don't want to meet with the financial advisor. It's very important that you do. It's important that you share all passwords for all your accounts. Another one that's extremely important is estate planning. Have you, in fact, made a will? Do you have trust set up for the children? Do you have an idea what would happen if one of you became disabled, or if one of you were in a situation where you need to make choices or have power of attorney to take over activities that maybe one party is no longer capable of doing, right? These are healthcare directives. Do you have life insurance? Even as you get older, it still might be something that you need. So you need to make sure that all of these plan documents are updated, and also just reassess and make sure you have enough protection in case of something tragic happened. That's what insurance is. It's not hoping that something will happen, but it's the slim chance that something bad does happen, that you have enough coverage to protect that. The other thing I wanted to talk about is coming right up. Sorry, folks. There we go. Okay. So we just saw that sign, like what is in your way, right? Are you saving? Are there potential accidents? Are we seeing inflation? A lot of things that are just out of our control that we do need to prepare for, but they're out of our control. But there's one thing when I meet with parents or even divorcing couples that are parents of adult children, there's one thing that they are doing that they could actually be avoiding this roadblock, and that is taking care of their adult children, continuing to fund their adult children. So it found that in 2019, a survey found that 90% of adult homeowners are providing support to their adult children. And when I say supporting children financially, I don't mean, of course you want to gift to your children. They get married, you want to give them a gift. Maybe if you're older, you want to help them fund the 529 plan for their children. All of these things are for your grandchildren. All of these things are very valid and, extremely, generous to do, but they have to be part of your plan, right? The key here is supporting adult children without boundaries. If you have in your financial plan that you'd like to leave a legacy, or that you'd like to pay for a wedding, or you'd like to pay for college, and it's all part of the plan, then that's okay, right? But more and more now, as in this sort of generation, parents are using money that they should be saving for their own retirement to continue to support their children. In fact, another study, this was done by Merrill Lynch, showed that 79% of parents financially support their children from the ages of 18 to 34. And this in front of your screen here is the kind of things that parents continue to pay for, right? Like insurance, cell phones, obviously tuition. It has to be part of your financial plan, or else you could really hurt yourself financially by taking on student loans, taking on their student loans, or doing Parent Plus loans. And you got to remember, a lot of people have to remember that children have many, many more years to work and save to pay off their debts, and you might not have as many. I mean, granted, we're living longer, but you likely have more years behind you than you have in front of you. So ask yourself a couple questions when you're considering supporting your children. Is it somehow taking away from a plan you had for yourself? Is it meaning you have to work longer? Is it meaning that you can't get that home, or the luxury home, or the car, or whatever it was that you wanted for yourselves, or travel like you wanted to together as parents? So really think about that. It's kind of like the airplane, put your own mask on and then support your children. You have to make sure you're financially okay. And then it's also good to, as you know, if children learn to support their own way, then they will certainly benefit from that in the long run. Right? So here's the few steps, and we just saw a flash of that slide. So when you go through your assessment of yourself when you've reached the age of 50, ask yourself a couple questions already. What have you saved so far? I give you sort of a rough guideline as to what you should have accumulated. But if not there yet, no, don't fret. Just increase your savings rate. Take advantage of some of the opportunities the IRS has for you to put away tax-free savings. Um, really identify your future income sources, such as what is your Social Security? What are you expected? If you go to ssa.gov, it'll tell you what Social Security is. Sometimes you might find that you need to work a couple extra years, but it becomes well worth it because now your Social Security payments are much, much higher. Certainly reduce any liabilities that you have, debts, but also reducing the exposure you might have to being tripped up by a sudden death or one thing I talk about a lot with kids that are driving that are older, the the parents, I always recommend they have extra sort of insurance, umbrella insurance, and that's because you could be financially responsible for a child that is in some sort of car accident. So you always want to look at what type of liabilities you have, what's your exposure. You want to make sure your wills are updated, right? And you want to make sure that you're putting boundaries on expenditures and holding those firm parameters, because it is becoming more and more something that, as a financial advisor, I'm seeing parents do. And I'm actually coaching folks on how to start setting parameters for their children later in life, because we are supporting them older as they're older and older. So I don't know if there are any questions came up with that. Sorry about the slide issue there. My fault. But if anybody had any questions, I'd be happy to answer some. Or if you need any more information, you'd like to meet with me or just chat with me, I'm sure through purse strings you could find my information. I'd be happy to take your call or email you back if you had a question.
Thank you for all that great information there.
Yeah.
I really appreciate how you mentioned about parents. We've been hearing a lot about how parents are kind of messing up their own retirement from helping their kids.
Yeah.
And being more on the kid perspective, I feel like I would rather take my own debt and know what that is than have to come up with cash later to help fund my parents. That also seems like a much more difficult way to go about it as well. So yeah, that was a ton of great information there.
It blows me away the numbers of families who are still supporting their adult children. And it
Yep.
seems like that's gotten more and more over the years.
It really has. It really has. And I think a lot of part of it is the college debt, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've had people come to me saying, how can I co-signed on these loans for my child? And when you co-sign on that loan, you're responsible for it, and student loans don't go away very easily. So, yeah, you have to really consider that. It's like taking on extra mortgages or something. You're financially on the hook.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And even like when you said cell phones,
Yeah.
and cell phone bills, they add up. And, I think what happens is you get your family plan together, right? And then your children become adults and they're still on your family plan. And oh, by
Yes.
the way, you're still paying for that,
Yes.
Guilty,
Yes.
but our children are self-sufficient now. But it was cheaper to go that route for all parties involved. So that's kind of a full net they capture you with, with those cell phone plans. But yeah, I know the student debt has been outrageous. We've had some student debt experts on here as well talking about the best ways to really handle that. I loved your calculations about if you're making $100,000 a year, kind of what's the thumbnail sketch around where you should be at the age 50, right? It's not exact for all people, but people want to know a ballpark. Like, am I in the ballpark?
Right. And like I said, it's you have to evaluate it from a statistical perspective, not just because markets don't go up. Right, we've coming off an exceptional period of market growth, right? We can't expect that to continue. So we want to get an idea of how we do it up and down years, and if we have perpetual bear market, if we go through another 08. We had COVID, that was scary enough. But the types of things that can happen is derail your financial plan. And I find it's easier if, and this is important because so much of health, and financial health, but as you get older, when they interview people, it's not how much money you have, right? It's knowing you have enough to meet your needs is a huge stress reliever, right? And also your health is probably one of the more important things that you have. So it's not just necessarily the number, but it's the confidence in the number, and of course your well-being as well. And those are all things to think about as you're aging.
Yeah, and even more so when you kicked it off around, financial health is one pillar, but if you're healthy health-wise and taking care of yourself, that's going to help your financial health in the
Oh
long
Mhm.
yeah,
run. I mean, so
absolutely.
many things are interwoven,
Mhm.
especially
Mhm.
as we hit 50 and we're looking at the go-go years in our life, the nearing retirement or wanting to near retirement.
You think
So,
you're closer to that retirement than not, yeah.
yeah, I
That's one
think,
thing I didn't mention. I should have was health savings accounts. You're
Mm.
oh,
okay.
yeah,
I should have, and I just in hindsight, I should have put that on the same screen as the 401ks and the IRAs because as a family, you can put over $7,500 away and utilize that for your healthcare needs later in life, right? And that
Mhm.
includes
excellent,
even premiums. Yep. Hmm.
And
excellent.
and just so people who don't know, that would be then you putting in your money without it being taxed.
Yeah. Yep.
Correct. So straight out of your paycheck into an account. So you save the taxes on that money, so you can pay your medical bills with it without the tax being
Yeah.
taken out.
Some firms offer it and even offer matches, which anything
Mm.
that offers a match, take advantage of, right? That's free
Free
money.
money.
So max it out, max it out. So everything is available to you on a match and everything's available to you for a tax savings, max it out. You can do health savings accounts outside of your company as well. You can open them on your own in your bank, which I've had to do because I don't have it through here. So, but do it. And even if it's just $50 a month, set up some sort of automatic deposit. So you're saving for your future and you have that tax-free ability with this not taxed on growth at that point, you can take it out and utilize it for health expenses. Dental is a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dental, right? I mean, God forbid nobody has any serious health issues, but our smile starts to erode, ladies. As we get older, our teeth get older. I know, and it's just they fall out. They do crazy things. So you want to
Yeah.
make sure you're saving for those because insurance doesn't do a good job of covering that stuff.
Yeah,
Really.
and as I say,
Mhm.
as we age, health care and oversight becomes the most expensive items, right? They move
Mhm.
way up on the list because our bodies are starting to decline. And
Mhm.
so the more we can take care of ourselves and our financial health, the better off we're going to be in the long run because we're living longer.
Yes, ma'am.
So, it's not something that we can say, oh, I'll think about that tomorrow. I mean, like you said, with the compounding interest, every little bit you can put away today and
Mhm.
compounding really, really makes that trajectory go way high. And it's really what we always say is your future self will thank you for that.
Yep.
Those little
Pat you on the back.
compromises. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Pat
this has
yourself on the
been
back.
terrific. Great
Good.
tips. I've taken a lot of notes and yeah, it's been fabulous. Thank you, Donna.
Thanks. Take care. Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you so much, Donna. We really appreciate you giving us all this information today. We'll be posting the one-page handout tomorrow, and you can always reach Donna at dkline@hbkswealth.com. She's also one of our Purse Strings approved professionals, so you could reach out to her at pursestrings.co. And we will be in both of these groups, 50 Plus and Fabulous, and a Life Redesign, Women Over 50, every Monday at 1:30. And so we're so excited to have you all here and see you again next week.
All
All
right.
right.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Take care.
Bye,
Take
Donna.
care. Bye.